All right. Hi, Jen. I am so happy to be here with you. Jennifer Cormier. We're talking today about Jen's. I just love your work. It's so important, but you do a lot of work with grief and loss. And this isn't something people love to talk about, but it's so important. And we've talked a few times, and so I'm happy to have you back. I know you always have incredible wisdom to share. Today, the conversation, we're going to talk a little bit about loneliness after loss. Um, so before we do that, I'd love for you just to introduce yourself a little bit, why you do what you do, why you love it, why it's important, and then we can take the conversation from there. Does that work for you? Oh, wait, something's happening. I can't hear you. You're muted.
I'm muted.
Hey,
There we
you're
are.
muted. There we go. Conversation works better when we unmute.
Conversation works
Perfect.
better when you can hear us
Yeah.
both. Um, Thank you so much for having me. I always love being in space with you and sharing. So thank you
My
for
pleasure.
making the space for this really important conversation. And I think I just want to start out by saying the work that I do, I really take a stand for the fact we go through real painful moments in our lives, right? When we have major losses, somebody dies in our family, our partner, our sibling, our parent, our child. Um, we have other devastating losses that happen, and then we have all the little losses that happen in between. And I really am a stand that yes, we need to feel the pain. We need to move through the pain through our physical body. We need to know um, how to move through it, how to transmute it, how to transform it, and that not to be Pollyanna or try and put rainbows and butterflies on everything, because you know when we're on the floor, we're on the floor, right? And to respect that we have those moments of totally when we're taken to our knees. So that happens, and then we really have an opportunity to transform that energy that is grief into something that is brand new. It's like flowers coming up from the manure, right? It's
Yeah.
just like and I really see grief as something that moves in cycles and seasons. And my background, I have a background in interfaith, trans-denominational, earth-based ministry. I work with people of all spiritual backgrounds, all religions, no religion, but what I find is really important is that when we link up, and this is something that you and I have in common, right, with the folks of my dear friends that are Ayurvedic practitioners, Taoist practitioners, Chinese medicine practitioners, any traditional First Nations practices that really honor the earth and the cycles and the seasons, we understand that, there is a season for everything. And that the one thing we can count on is that things don't stay the same, right? Nothing is static. And I think that that's one of the challenging places why we shy away from grief. We don't want to talk about it. People are like, I don't want to fall apart. I don't want to go there because then I think I'll fall apart and I'll never come back together. It's like, well, no, it will shift. If you feel like your life is just all a fog and you can't ever move out of it, you will move out of it because there will come the next season, right? So I see grief as a really, it is synonymous for me to a healing journey, a grief journey, because we have a real opportunity to do major healing in our lives when we're moving through grief and really open up to a new phase of creativity and beauty and wisdom and understanding. And then we have the capacity then to be compassionate for other people. And then we have the capacity to use the tools for the next loss, because life is just, it's a series of losses, right? I mean, we birth things, we create things, and we lose things. And it's just another one and another one and another one. So how can we really transform ourselves from the inside so that we have this wisdom and capacity to move through that next loss with grace and with new understanding and with new compassion and new compost to create the next thing in our lives.
Yeah, beautiful, beautiful. I think that's so wise. And I think that there's anyone who's been through, I mean, we don't have a lot of these conversations in our world, or it's sort of thought of as for, many times it's sort of positioned as linear. You go this. Are you, and anyone who's had someone say, oh, you're still thinking about that, or you're still there, where anyone who's in like has had immense loss, often they recognize it's like it's a cycle, and it comes back and it comes back and can come back and feel really strong, but they're the same intensity, but different. And each stage, and I know we've talked a lot about this, my background's in Eastern medicine. So we talk a lot and we use the wisdom of cycles, of seasons for everything. And each season has a blessing and a challenge with it. And so there can be that, we say in the fall, there is that loss, things die, they go. And then there's this period of winter where we're just nothing, like it's this place of just being, or this emptiness, seeming emptiness, where we can't move, we're still, we're frozen in some way. And then spring will come again, or there's this movement, but sometimes it's uncomfortable. It can be really challenging to move to another stage. And so there's all these different, and then the cycles of I know for me, when I've had loss, that when we lose something, it really can help identify what is most precious to us. Where are the gems? Where are those things that are most meaningful to us? And we only see that sweetness, or that the importance of it, when we've lost something. I think I took so much for granted before I had a series of losses, and it as you said, it took me to my knees. It cracked me open. I am never the same. I have never been the same since, but I know myself, the depth, the beauty that was revealed because of that was profound and life-changing. So I love the work that you do, and these conversations, and to normalize it with, or just to explain this when someone's either fresh to it, or when it seems like, here I am again, like I thought I had dealt with this, or
Right.
yeah.
Yeah. And it's so wonderful that you bring that up, because I've heard so many people come to me. I just spoke with a woman who is a volunteer for a grief service in Australia. And she was saying that everyone there, they call and they talk to her and say, why am I not over this? It's been 6 weeks. Why do I still feel so bad? Why do I feel? So there's this strange belief that somehow X amount of weeks, just like a pregnancy, like, oh, gestation is somewhere around 40 weeks, 38 to 42, like around 40 weeks, you're going to birth a baby. Like, oh, at 6 weeks, you should be over your grief or something, like,
Yeah.
this much time off of work. And then, you should just get back into it. Right.
Yeah.
And it's, no, we need seasons to get through it. And even like birthing a child, there's like preconception, conception, you have pregnancy, and then there's like the 40 days after, and then the child grows, and then there's like, they move out of the toddler phase. And so I think when we're grieving, we need to give ourselves a lot of space and a lot of time and a lot of compassion to go through all those different seasons.
And it's not always, what I think is interesting. We were just joking before we got on that it's April here, and it was like really warm, hot t-shirt weather on the weekend, and it's snowing today. And I just went from like summer to like winter in a moment. And sometimes with grief, it can be like, oh, we're laughing or remembering someone with joy. And then it's like I know for me in particular, I had a boyfriend that died, and I was really friggin' angry at him because of some stuff that he did. And then I missed him more than anything. And then the love, it was all, sometimes we go through it in an hour. There can be just this journey of every season within that hour. And then there's the shifting throughout. So I think that you said it well, like we have this somewhere, like, aren't you done? Am I done? Why do I still feel that? And I know for a long time, I felt that. What's wrong with me? Why am I feeling this way? And so tell me a little bit more about how, like, when you're working with people, how do you approach this? Or, do you have tools that you give them? Do you,
Yeah, I think first is like just taking those just at the tip of our tongue. What's wrong with me? When will this end? Why am I feeling so much pain? Why can't I think straight? Why can't I, just taking all of that and just normalizing it and going, first of all, you're not alone in those things. Like, this is common. So first I like to just educate and go and tell people they're not alone, because because we don't talk about it, everyone thinks, well, nobody's suffering like I'm suffering,
Mhm.
and we
Yeah.
all have our unique suffering. So that's also true, right? But so number one, to just normalize and go, no, you don't feel okay, and that's okay. Like, you're falling apart is okay. So that would be the first thing. And then my tool basket really comes from my background. I have over 20 years of experience as a somatic healing practitioner. So, the healing arts that come through the lineage of yoga, that come through the lineage of different bodywork traditions. So lots of how do we combine movement and breath and sound and touch and energy work
Mhm.
to move energy, to heal, and really that our system is self-healing, truly, right? It comes back to
Mhm.
a healing place, which many systems, right, believe that there's not,
We're
oh, we have to
programmed to
fix it,
heal. Yeah, we're programmed to heal,
right?
but
It's
there's a journey to get there, kind of.
to
Yeah.
get there. So it's like, how do we open up, from I studied Thai massage, I've been to Thailand many winters, and in that system is very similar. It's got the same roots as acupuncture, right? That we have this energetic body that has all of these nadis, all of these energy channels that flow like rivers, and that we suffer and we get sick and we get ill and we get dis-ease when there are blocks, right?
Totally.
And that when we're blocked, when we're holding or withholding, pushing away or grabbing, or
Yeah,
trying
resisting that. Resisting is,
resisting,
yeah.
all of that creates energetic blocks in our system, in our physical body, our energetic body, our mental body, our emotional body, right? There are all those layers of self. And that our job is to find ways to open, to find ways to relax, to find ways to soften, so that the energy can flow and move, and we can find our way back to balance and back to health. Because so many people, their health really takes a big hit after a loss, because they've got so much stress on their system. So their immune system's down, they're stressed out, they're not eating. I just talked with a woman recently who said, all I've been eating is cereal and peanut butter, and that's it. So it's
Mhm.
like, her goal is to eat a vegetable this week. That was one of the things I offered her. Can you have a friend take you out to a lunch or dinner and just feed you one vegetable or one fruit, because she hasn't had one in weeks,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So because our capacity to function at the beginning of a major loss is so low, we have to start small. We have to start little baby steps. We have to be extra compassionate, to take care of those basic systems of sleep and water and food, right, and
Yeah.
connection. um,
I think,
and
yeah.
once we've got that taken care of, then we can do the next layer of healing and the next layer
It's
of
such an important point. Like we are so disconnected in our culture. We're such a like at the head to the body, and we just are like, I'm gonna think my way through this, or I should, and we just let our mind be the leader, and it's not. Our mind is there to serve us in another way, but our body, everything happens in the body in this. And if we're not listening, it's exactly like you said, there's dis-ease in whatever way, and we're experiencing it in the body through the body. And it's so important, like, and just basics. I mean, can I ask you though, because of people listening there, yes, there's immense loss that takes us to our knees, and life will never be the same. And then there's little losses, like and how, because it can be just like eating, getting fed, the basic bodily needs that are a big deal when you're just trying to survive. And then there's the ways where we're not acknowledging a loss that might be on paper might say, oh, it's no big deal. But these are the things that can suck the joy out of life, or weigh us down, or have us try to escape through ways of numbing, or avoiding, or bypassing, or diminishing something that we are actually feeling. Do you work with people who are, as some of the work around these little micro losses that take away some of the joy of life.
Absolutely, because, you know, the tools that we can, the tools that we implement for the bigger losses are the same that we can implement for the smaller losses,
Yeah.
right? Um, and it really can, I mean, I'm thinking for myself, I had a particular move where I've moved many, many, many times, and I've been single for lots of my life. So I have many, many, many roommates, and I've lived in New York City and Charleston, South Carolina, and Ashland, Oregon, and San Diego and Connecticut. And I've lived in all these, Thailand, I've lived in all these different places. So I've done a lot of moves, but they've all been self initiated. Like, I want to move to New York City. Now I want to move to Brooklyn. Now I want to move to Harlem. Now I want to move to Chelsea. Now I want to move to Oregon. Now I want, right? I've wanted these things and I've gotten them. And I've had one move where I didn't want to leave. I had a house that I loved, and it was an amazing house, and I loved all these things about it. And I had to leave. And because the landlord situation, whatever, right? I couldn't renew my lease. And it took me a year and a half to realize, oh my gosh, I've been suffering so much because I've been resisting this new place I've been living for this year and a half. And there is so much blockage and resistance, and that I was not wanting to see or acknowledge, that was really affecting me. And it was like, oh wow, that's really appropriate for me to be doing some grief work around that. Oh,
That's
who knew?
beautiful. Yeah. Well, and as you know, I do a lot of work with menopause, and it's interesting talking with women, and even for myself, there can be at stages of life we can grieve. You know, when kids leave home, you know, for moms, it's a grief and a loss, even though there can be blessings in it. You know, shifting at midlife to a different stage, or a lot like grieving, even though I was fine, I don't have biological kids. It was a choice. I made peace with it when it all went, what's happening around those ages. But then now there's a lingering grief of like, oh, I will never have that. And they're sometimes so subtle. And so I think that's just to acknowledge for people that grief can hit, and it's healthy and it's normal, and it's there for a reason, and there is wisdom and information in it, but how to or just to acknowledge it, how important that is as well.
Absolutely. You know, I had one client that was working with me privately he's been working with me over a year, but, you know, he started coming to me because of the death of his mother, and he was really, really challenged. And then, you know, after 6 months or so, it was, what was underneath that was then, oh, he also retired. It was, who am I now? And there was this huge well of grief underneath, you know, the death of his mother, of, I was this person with this role in this community, and that for years, and now what? I don't want to just do nothing. Like, so there's this whole like sense of purpose and existential sort of crises, and which is grief, you know. And and I think I see it now is when we don't show up for the grief, and we don't move with it and work with it, you know, it can easily become addiction. It can easily become you know, all kinds of, you know, alcohol addiction, drug addiction, overworking, you know, all these things that we do
numbing
to
stuff
manage,
that we do,
all
like
the
even
numbing stuff that we do.
like overeat and watch Netflix and just don't do things that are enlivening or caring. We don't tend to ourselves in some way, and it slowly and then we feel bad or shame or whatever. We berate ourselves for certain ways of being, but it's the root of it is just this loss or grief.
Yeah, that we haven't tended to. It's just asking for us to be there.
Yeah. So you have, I know you do beautiful work with people, and you have an event coming up this weekend, don't you, on Friday? Yes. Can you tell us a little bit about that, please?
Sure. Yeah, this is going to be a really beautiful, often I do multi-day events. This is going to be just like a half day community retreat, virtual. And this is in response to so many people I've talked to who are feeling alone. They're feeling isolated, some loneliness. They need more connection. I put a poll out in my group in Grief and Grace, and asked about connection. You know, who's feeling like they've got the connection they need, right? And nobody has said, I'm feeling like I have the connection that I need. And we're really craving, whether it's in-person touch or just whether it's in person or virtual, someone to get it, someone to understand, like, oh my gosh, someone else out there can see me and witness me and understand this place that I'm in. Because so many people, I just talked to somebody the other day who is like, my sister doesn't get me, my friends don't get me.
Oh, yeah.
My partner died and they all brought food and were great the first 6 weeks, but now I'm at 20 weeks and no one's asking and no one's coming
Yeah.
around, and no, I'm not able to share and connect. So to have a space where we can share authentically what's happening for us and be seen and witnessed, and then understand, oh my gosh, this other person is feeling some similar things. I really am not alone. And that can be so healing. So that's why I created this event. It's called 3 Keys to Heal Loneliness After Loss. And we're going to gather together for 3 hours, starting at 1 o'clock Pacific, 4 o'clock Eastern on this Friday. And there'll be an opportunity. I'm going to teach some tools that you can take with you in the hardest moments. Like, how do I sort of have some grief triage when a big wave, knocks me over? How can I function? What are some ways I can get support? How can I address my health? Well, we'll go through these things, and we'll also have some time for people to share if they want. If you don't feel like sharing, you can just kind of relax back and just be present. But I'm really looking forward to offering this. This is open to my clients and my past clients, other facilitators and members of the community, as well as people who are just finding me and saying, oh my gosh, I need some help. I've just had this major loss and I'm really struggling. So it'll be a really beautiful mix of people on Friday.
Beautiful. And so I'll put the link in below this this talk. Are there other ways that people can keep in touch with you? Website or
the website is Walk Through Grief with Grace.
okay.
So that's the name of my podcast. The podcast is Walk Through Grief with Grace on Apple and Spotify. The website is walkthroughgriefwithgrace.com. You can find updated events on the event page. There's a Facebook group that's a private group called Grief and Grace. And that one is a private group, but it's open to everybody. So you can join and connect with the community there as well.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Okay. That's wonderful. So I'll pop the link in for this, but people can get in touch with you if they have other questions or just want to connect around the work that you do, the beautiful work that you do. Wonderful.
Absolutely. Oh, and let me tell you one other thing, Angela, just for your community, for anyone that's watching this event on Friday, it's a $47 event, but I just want to offer a discount code for anyone who is in your world. It's all capital letters, friends. So if you want to join us on Friday, you can click the link and just type in friends.
Beautiful.
To come for no charge. Yeah.
Thank you. Oh, that's lovely. What a gift that is. That's so super. Well, I hope this serves anyone who's feeling called. I hope you join Jenn. She's an amazing, amazing, amazing resource and human. And any last things that you wanted to say before we close up for today?
Just to see, when you're feeling like life is getting anxious or overwhelming, or you're feeling this sort of tightness or heaviness or emptiness, that just feels really angsty in whatever way. See if you can give yourself 3 minutes, like a 3-minute vacation. And you can even set a timer and go, for the next 3 minutes, I don't have to do anything, and give yourself an opportunity to just open your palms and open your jaw and soften your skin and breathe and just feel an openness and a softness and an openness and a softness. We've got a practice I'll teach on Friday about this, but it's just so important to give ourselves regular moments to notice what's happening in our system. And sometimes we get locked down and tight and driving forward, and we don't notice that over time how detrimental that is on our system. So, can we come back, and can we come down, and can we come soft and open? So we'll be working with that on Friday, but really just giving ourselves a lot of gentleness, really.
Beautiful. I think that's the reminder that in the moment, in every moment, there is a choice, and to come back home, and that there can be just those momentary breaks and reprieves through breath or through that softening is powerful. Thank you so much, Jenn. Thank you for the work you do. Thank you for your time and your wisdom. I hope that it is a wonderful, wonderful event. And again, anyone who's called to it, you will not be disappointed. Jenn is an amazing, amazing healer and teacher. Thank you.
Thank you. Hope to see you there.